Okay, I'm going to be sharing some video of different orb pictures that I have taken. Now, let me hit play. I've got it set for every 4 seconds. Every 4 seconds, pan and zoom. Seems to be a pretty nice one. I just love the colors in the orbs. They are like electric looking. You can see an electric blue, an electric yellow, and orange, and green. And sometimes the colors aren't so electric, they're more earth-like, earth tones. And these orbs, they do so much moving around. It's amazing to watch their movement, their combinations they make with other orbs, the way they travel. It's like in their world, every orb is completely agreeable with every other orb because there's nothing contentious about their movements. I mean, sometimes there'll be a darkness that moves over an orb, but it's tolerated. It moves on its way and it'll pass it. And sometimes the darkness, as you can see in this picture, all the darkness does is bring to light the colors more vividly. So there's not a clash between light and dark with the orbs. I never get the same two pictures twice. They can be very similar to other ones, but you never will be able to say, well, this is repeatable. I can get the exact same picture again, because you can't. I'm just going to be rather quiet and just speak now and then. Just let you enjoy the colors and the movement. These are all still pictures, but I have them on pan and zoom, so they appear to be moving somewhat, but when I'm taking pictures of them, they're moving constantly. Their colors are changing, their shape is changing. And these orbs are around us, they're all around us. They're in the empty space. But when you want to look at them, you focus your camera on something real shiny, like you have a light on and you have a piece of glass or anything that light concentrates and makes a shine on. And you focus in on that shiny part of whatever it is, and you'll see these orbs. The more complex a piece of glass it is that I have shining, the more different ways the orbs can look. If I use just a simple marble that is glass, it just about always makes a round orb. But when I use other shapes, and there's many glass candle holders and all kinds of things made of glass that light shines off of, and you can find so many beautiful orbs when you look real close with your camera at the shiny parts on those different items. And this is indoors or outdoors. Mostly I do my work indoors, but I do take outdoor orb pictures. But the indoor ones are easier and I get more color. I probably have, maybe by now, 3,000 pictures. I never stopped to count them, but it seems to me that it's probably close to that many. So many pictures of beautiful orbs. And I could just do it forever and I would still never get two alike. On any given day, though, I can take pictures of orbs. They're always there. They surround us. I was listening to some physics talking, and they were saying about how empty space is not empty. How something can't come from nothing, but people think empty space is nothing. But empty space is full of activity. It's full of color, and it's full of these orb-like projections you're seeing here that I've captured. And you can't, it's not tangible. You can't pick it up. You can see it. Your eyes will see it. And I'm really, really wishing there was some way I could get some sound with it. Because I'm thinking that perhaps where there's color, there's also sound. But so far, I haven't been able to do that. Although I have taken pictures of orbs as a video in movement, and had sound in the background of singing or talking. And the orbs do seem to get in sync with the voice or the singing of noises that are in the room at the same time that I'm taking the picture of the orbs. And I do think they are influenced also by emotions, by my emotions. And I also think that some of the orbs that I'm capturing might be things that are in the room, like rays that go to your computer or to your telephone, or invisible little things. Like maybe if your fan is on, it's sending out some kind of little thing that can be seen. There's all kinds of little worlds that we never see, but we just take them for granted because we have all these electronic gadgets that work because there are such things as this. And who knows, maybe some of this is pictures of what some of that looks like. And this is just my conjecturing. I have no idea what all is represented by the colors in these orbs. But I do know it is a mysterious world, and strange, and invisible, and not tangible. And when I listen to the quantum physicists talk about the atom, and how an atom can be a particle or a wave, and he says, like, when the observer looks at it, and then he doesn't look at it, it's like it disappears and becomes a wave and leaves. But it's a real strange world, the quantum world is, because there aren't any rules that we understand. But he believes it is a lawful world. It is something that's beyond our grasp of being able to explain it like we would want to do in our scientific way. It's beyond us to be able to explain it. Even just the physical laws of this world are hard to understand. But this is the quantum world. And its laws interact with our world and our physical bodies and minds. I know some of these pictures, the colors just evoke in me a certain feeling. Like that's a real gay, happy looking coloring that I'm seeing now on the screen. Colors do influence our moods. When I take pictures of these orbs, I get up real close, sort of inside the orb, where you only see a little bit of the edge of it. And they're not always round, like you see in these pictures. They can stretch out like a ribbon or fan out like a fan. And what is inside of an orb, all these color patterns and such, they are changing and rearranging all of the time. Like if you were an artist and this were your palette, you could reach into all this reservoir of color and everything to get any color you wish or any combination you wish to make a picture of anything you wish to make a picture of. And there's so many little circles, tiny circles and bigger circles, and also other things within these pictures that aren't necessarily a color. They're like a branch of a tree or something. They look really weird, or they're like pebbles on a beach. And the little orbs twist and turn, and they can turn right into their own self and go through their own self and come out the other side, and then maybe disappear and then reappear. I like to read a lot of Walter Russell's books, and he talks about how God is light, and he explains that God folds and refolds and unfolds and refolds. Origami, the art of folding paper to make it into different things. A very sacred art, because God uses light and folds and refolds and unfolds countless times. So what does that make everything that's physical? Folded up light. That's what we are. It's a light illusion too. We're living in an illusion. But since we're part of it, we don't recognize it as the illusion that it is. I mean, I laugh. People say, oh, well, this is not illusion. Look, I'll pinch you. See if you don't feel that. They think that if it was an illusion, it would have no feeling. But that is not true, because part of the illusion, world of illusion, is the five senses. And they definitely can feel. The illusion feels other parts of the illusion. But this is a wonderful thing to start studying about the illusion that our world is, because when we understand it better, we can find it maybe will be malleable, that we can change things. And when we learn to change things, we'll be doing it with our mind. That's why there's a big battle going on for our minds, to keep us angry all the time, or to keep us perplexed or confused or guilty or fearful. Because then you won't explore. Then you won't question. You'll just live just to survive and not have much of a life, because you're afraid. You're afraid of your life when you die. You're afraid that you'll go to hell if you buy into that. But thank goodness a lot of people nowadays are not buying into that anymore. Although I do see a lot of videos on YouTube where they're really saying an awful lot about believe in Jesus and you'll be saved. And they don't realize even what Jesus said was that of himself he could do nothing. It was the Father within him who did all the wonderful things that we saw him do. So we, the same as Jesus, of ourselves can do nothing. It is the Father within us that does everything. It breathes us. It digests our food. It does everything. And we have very little to do with that. It is a power that everyone possesses within their self that Jesus knew. He knew he was one with the Father, so he could use that power. So can we. And he prayed that we would, for he prayed that we would all be one with the Father, as was he one with the Father. If he was the only one that could do some of the miraculous things that he did and he taught us that we could do, if he were the only one, that would be most terrible. Because then we would always need someone else to do everything for us. Light is so flexible. It moves at almost any angle it wants to. It carries any number of color designs in it. And I think each little part of it, each color, is a consciousness. Because everything is conscious. And we would like to be able to communicate with this light. I know I would. But it doesn't communicate with words. It's not like we're looking at something that has ears and a mouth. Oops. That always happens. The way we communicate, I'm thinking, with this light is with our emotions. We feel the feelings it evokes. And any strong feeling that we have, being enraptured with just the beauty of it, I think it can feel our love for it. And many things that are our emotional body, the light can perhaps feel, is what I'm thinking. But this is just conjecture on my part. I'm certainly hoping that the light, carrying all this information and becoming something that we're more and more familiar with, that it will be that we can work with the light. And you know the word worship in the Bible, you know what it means? It means to work with. So if you worship the light, you work with the light. But when you work with the light, treat it as though it weren't your slave. Treat it as if it were a friend. And don't think you can manhandle it to do your bidding. And don't think it doesn't have ideas of its own. It has probably better ideas than we have. So if we could find some means of communication, it would be so wonderful if we could communicate with light. Perhaps then light would give us some of its abilities to create, to use the information. Because inside of every atom, and atoms are what we're made of, the nucleus is an electronic ball of light. That's what I read. Serapis Bey made that statement. Take it or leave it. I kind of believe it is true, that there's an electronic ball of light inside the nucleus of the atom. Very tiny. You don't see it with man's instruments. And that's what's so exciting about this, because perhaps this is a picture of some of that activity of that electronic ball of light. And it is vast. It may just be a little shiny spot on a piece of glass, and you think, oh, that's just nothing, that's just light shining off of something. And so we don't look into that. But then I don't know what possessed me to even look at it with my camera, but I did. I guess I was led. Perhaps I was. And I discovered all this that's in something that shines, and that is around all of us. There's always something shiny. If you have the light on, it's going to concentrate in some little area, be it porcelain or metal or glass or whatever. It's going to make a lot of little shiny points. Now that's all that my camera is looking at. Shiny points of light, where I guess a lot of light has kind of concentrated. I do know that it's beautiful. It's peaceful. I never feel anything about this light that is in any way scary. And you know, this light looks the way it does according to the angle that I turn my camera or the piece of glass that has a shiny spot. The observer, that's me or my camera one, they determine what the light is going to do. So we are co-partners with this light, co-creators with it. We are part of the equation. It's hard to believe that all this color exists all around us. I see light a little differently than the camera sees it, but with the naked eye I see a lot of light around us. I can see planes of light, and I wouldn't say it was a dozen planes. No, it's like so many at every angle. It's like we were swimming in a bowl of light soup. That's the only way I can explain it. And each terrain is a little different than the next, and all of them beautiful and full of color. Sometimes when you look at these, it looks like different figures in it, of people or faces or something. I like that one just went by. That's really pretty. And you know, people really do love light, and you can witness that by just seeing how many people love to go and see fireworks go off up in the air and make their pretty patterns and just fill the sky with color. And it's exciting for people to see light. They're always excited about it, especially all the colors that light makes. Sometimes I take my camera, the one I use that has a battery that I can recharge, and I just use the viewer to look at the light, and I never take the picture. I just look at that world of light, and then I compare it to what I see when the light's shining on me, and it's my naked eyes looking at the light. Well, with that I see a wider range, and it's really hard to explain. It's some of the things that are in the pictures that I take are in that larger view that I see with the naked eye. And the pictures that I take, of course, I can share with others. I can't hardly share what I see with my eyes, but I can just tell you that we're not in empty space, that light is everywhere, and there are little creatures in the light. In my next video, I'll show you one that is a particular friend of mine. Never talked to him, but I've seen him. I mean, I have talked to him, but I've never gotten an answer, put it that way. I call him Harry. And I'll show you a lot of pictures of him. He'll be in my next video. Now, they say truth is stranger than fiction. Well, you could make up some fiction that would be pretty amazing, because anything you can think of. You can think of some pretty weird things, right? Well, if truth is stranger than fiction, and I believe that's true, then nothing you can think of can compare to what is actually real. That is a mystery that we don't yet understand. And maybe we will have many lives to live in the pursuit of knowing some of those mysteries. It'll keep us busy with something to do. Because you know, it's quite all right to say, I don't know. Some people think they have to have an answer for everything, but I think that is an impossibility. And even takes the fun out of mysteries if you think you know the answer for everything. And sometimes you can be fooled. You can think you know the answer, but don't they change science books pretty often as they learn more and more? And then they have to take back some of the old thoughts they had, because they've been proven wrong. And what is interesting is that a lot of scientists are discovering that the mystics of old talked about how we are all one, how everything is light. You know, the Kabbalion rather. That is a book that has a lot of some of the ancient knowledge that people had once, that you had to go to a mystery school to learn about. And you had to be qualified to be worthy to learn about it, because knowing it was something that gave you power. And it had to be used wisely. But what is so interesting about today is that some of this esoteric knowledge, quite a lot of it, is being given out to many people, because it's time that we know it. And we have this wonderful internet where we can share, everybody can share what they've learned with others, and you put it all together and we can learn quite a lot. When I look through the viewer at the light on my camera, I never know how it's going to look. And it can start out at a certain time of day. I can start out looking and it looks different than if I waited a few hours and looked. I think activity of the light is better in the later part of the day, because then there's less vibrations of the people that are busy in this world with their thoughts going everywhere. Now they're gone to bed and they're asleep. And so maybe it makes for it to be easier to see the orbs. That's just some conjecturing on my part. I don't know if that's true or not. But I do notice I get better pictures late at night. But they're all beautiful. Even the ones that are very simple, that don't have much color in them, they're still very interesting. Light scrolls, it just makes of itself something that looks just like a scroll. And you talk about a book of light. The light itself is the book. Oh, that one was beautiful that just went by. Sometimes I just turn my computer on and have this program running that shows me all my pictures, and the rest of the room is dark, and I just lay in bed and look over at my computer screen and see all these beautiful light orbs. And it's so gorgeous. It's restful to look at this light. And you know, you look at the light, you're not listening to words, you're just looking at light. And if a picture can speak 1,000 words, I don't know what the 1,000 words would be for this, I really don't. That's a carnival of colors there. I hope as I continue to take pictures, which I will. Sometimes I take a break and don't take pictures for a while because they accumulate so fast that I have to decide where to put them all. And I will wait, a few weeks before I take pictures again of light. And it seems that each time when I do that, certain things have changed. I'm getting kind of an evolution of the light. It's doing different kinds of things than it did when I first began viewing it. If you look at light and patterns and things long enough, you can make out faces. Sometimes scary little faces, or comical little faces, or animal faces. Just all kinds of things your mind will do as you look at these. It's like, I swear, that looked like a person in a rowboat. Not that one that just went by, but sometimes, that's what I can see some action going on inside the orb that looks like something in our physical world. Wouldn't it be good if it turns out that I can actually someday see that the light will show more accurately action, like trees and landscapes and sunsets and ocean waves and all kinds of things, in a way that we are used to seeing it. Not that this isn't very beautiful. It is. It's just that so much of it doesn't resemble anything we see in our world. I'm long past believing that this is just something marbles or glass or the spectrum of light does with these little digital cameras. I'm long past believing that to be true. I've heard that before. I do know there are things inside people's cameras that show up in their pictures. Little debris. One of my cameras has a lot of that in it. And I do recognize that. But that doesn't answer for all this other stuff you see, all the colors and all the designs. These look like rugs or something. Beautiful patterns a person could follow to actually make something that's similar to this if they don't know how to do that kind of work. It's like light weaves itself. That was a traveling light there. It just went past. It moves in all kinds of ways, changing its shape as it moves along. If you hear moaning, that's my dog, Jack. He's gone to sleep and now he's moaning. He's a moaning dog. And you could wonder all day long about what is this a picture of? What are those in that? There are no answers to that I know of, anyway. What makes there be so many circles? There's constantly seeing circles inside of these orbs. Small circles and bigger circles and concentric circles. It's just amazing. And I don't even know how to express it in quantum terminology, but how tiny is this that I'm looking at? How tiny could it be? Pretty tiny. I've looked around on Google and different things, and I haven't found any other pictures quite like these of light. Wheels within wheels. Ezekiel saw the wheel way up in the middle of the air. And he saw wheels within wheels. These that are going by have a lot of holes in them. They're the holy ones. Look at the holes in that one there. They just look so many different strange and wonderful ways. You can see depth to it, like an artist would be happy to be able to show that kind of depth in something that they painted, where they want to show different dimensions, different layers. This does it real well. There are oh so many unanswered questions, and I think the answers lie within the knowledge of light and what light is and how light works and how to connect light to the fact that light is love. Now, I've looked at some things under a microscope that are little amoeba that are always like eating and feeding on something and moving in any direction, not as a group but as individuals. Kind of like the survival of the one that eats the other ones first. The survival of the fittest. But with this light, you don't see that kind of activity. Nothing gobbles anything else up. Everything just seems to love the other lights and combine with them in such beautiful ways. And the way it works with dark is so wonderful too, because without the dark, the light wouldn't be near so pretty. It probably wouldn't show up. You need the dark to, the shadow to